Hello, in this video we will talk about unit testing, what is unit test and how can we use them. To verify the correctness of application, we are using a different type of test. It might be unit test, automation test, integration test, API test or user interface test. According to the typical testing pyramid, unit tests are in the bottom of this pyramid and they have the biggest amount of tests in the scope of application. So, what is a unit test? A unit test is a test which tests the smallest part of your application. For example, it might be a function or a class. You can test how your function works with input data and you can expect some output based on this input. Why is this good? Because of talking about tests, we can talk about scope of tests, and the bigger scope we have, the biggest number of computation resources and time we need it. That's why when you try to run UI tests, you need some environment, you need additional computers because of it runs the whole application to get what you need. And at the same time, unit tests they can be run just small piece of your application. It's some function. To run it, you do not need some additional environment or some additional computation resources. It can be run locally on your machine. As we mentioned, unit test is a test which tests your smallest part of application, its function or classes. Additionally, these tests are written by developers because of they know how application works, they know requirements, and that's why developers are writing unit tests together with their code. Another requirement for unit tests, they are easily run in IDE, in your integrated development environment. You don't need some additional steps to run it. It should be very easy to run in your IDE. What is important is that they should be very fast and take just a few seconds or a minute. Usually I do not recommend you write unit tests which takes more than a minute. Just in case if you have a big number of unit tests, it's okay, but your unit test should be executed very fast as possible. In this case you will run them often. Another requirement, unit tests, they are easily integrated with your CI, and when you push some code to the server, continuous integration will run and execute your unit test on each commit you create. And it's a great way to be sure that your code works as you expect. So let's talk about unit testing based on this sample. We have a login form and we have a test scenario. When user enters existing username and incorrect password and clicks the sign in button, it was when and then result login is rejected and incorrect username and password message is shown. So we have this scenario, and to this scenario we need to implement unit test. To check it, we can see that unit test scenario will be hash code of password is not equal to provider hash code, and as a result we need to throw new exception error. And here we can see that when we have this test scenario, we can implement unit test which will implement this functionality. When we check passwords and they are incorrect, we need to throw the exception. And here we can catch this exception. Also, what I wanted to mention about unit testing for sign-in, sign-up forms, it's a great example for where you can use unit tests. We have email or phone number. Email or phone number, they have some special format which we can validate. We know that email has some requirements with special characters, and when you create unit test, it can check your validation of your fields. Did the user inputted proper username or email or phone number? You can validate this number. You can create a function which checks all cases. For example, minimum length, maximum length. Is the same password, or is it the email, or is it a phone? Because of all these inputs, they have some format you can validate and check. And about principles in unit testing. All principles in unit testing, they create acronym first. The first letters mean fast. So your unit test should be fast, and it means you can run it as often as you can, and when you did some implementation or change something, you can run your test in your IDE and get fast feedback, was something broken or not. In case unit test requires more time, it will be lazy to run it for you and you will skip running unit test on each change. So fast is important. Another one is independent. Each unit test should be independent comparing with another test. It means that each unit test written properly and tests what you need, and any changes on outside shouldn't affect your unit test. You can switch tests in different order, and each of them should work as expected independently from another test. The next one is repeatable. You can run unit tests on your computer or CI server or production server or some other server, and always you should do the same and return the same result. The next one, self-validating. Self-validating means that result of unit test should be false or true. Was your test passed or not? You don't need to read some additional logs or complex output. You just need to know, was your test executed or it fails, and you need to refactor unit test or code. And timely. It means that unit test should be written before production code, and if you need to refactor the code, you can refactor it. Unit test is created after you finish developing of your project, that they do not have any sense for your project because they do not validate anything. So it's the main principles of unit test you can follow during your development.